Hey, I'm making my own way, but I stumble and I falter every day. But I love my baby now. Well, I love my baby, I'm still learning how. Hey, 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 I'm okay. Stay with me. We'll beat these can't.
Hi folks, my name is Dan Fox and this is Pathways to Parenting Success. Regrettably, you did not get to hear our opening intro music today. We'll have that back on track next time. We're here to talk about the parent-school partnership, teaming up for your child's success. And I am very excited to have an excellent panel with us today. We have Madeline Case, who is the Director of Parent and Family Partnerships for the Boulder Valley School District, Shelley Mann, the Executive Director of the Parent Engagement Network, and Kelly Molinet, the September High School Director. I also want to just take a minute to thank all of our sponsors who have made this possible today for us, and they are, in no particular order, as you can see, I've got to pull up the screen again. Healthy Youth Alliance, Lafayette Public Library, the Daily Camera, Centennial Peaks Hospital, Boulder Public Library, the Boulder Counseling Cooperative, the Boulder Valley School District, Horizons K-8 School, Mamie Dowd Eisenhower Public Library, the Hope Coalition, the Parent Engagement Network, and the Louisville Public Library. So thank you to all those organizations that have helped to make this possible. I want to dive right in, and one of the things that I've learned is that BVSD has made this a priority for their schools. They have an initiative, and Madeline, I'm hoping you can just tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. About 2 years ago, the Boulder Valley School District launched its strategic plan called the Success Effect, and one of the 6 priority action areas was really around how do we strengthen our relationships with families and work with them to collaborate on student success. And so that is how the Family School Partnership Initiative was born here at Boulder Valley School District, and they created my position, and we are looking at how do we make our buildings more welcoming, how are we building relationships with all of our families, are we communicating in ways that are effective in the language and the means that families want to be communicated in, are there ways that they can communicate back to us, do families understand how they can support their kids at home? So it's a really broad view of what we call family school partnership.
Thanks. Shelley, I just want to ask you about what's going on with the Parent Engagement Network, because I feel like you've done so much to bridge this gap between parents and schools. And I know there's a lot going on this year. Will you share with us what's up?
Sure. So the Parent Engagement Network started about 15 years ago, and from the beginning it's been a partnership with the Boulder Valley School District and other community-based organizations. And what we do is we work with the parents to support the developing child. So we have programs that are based on everything from educating them, helping them learn how to be engaged in their school, and empowering them really to be advocates for their child. In terms of what we have going on this year, our topic or our theme for the year is stress and anxiety, and so we're doing a lot of programs that are around not just the negative sides of stress, but helping parents understand that stress is a normal part of life, and how do we work with our children to teach them how to handle stress effectively. So that's been our series for the year. And then we have what we call our pen pals, Parents as Leaders in Schools. And we're actually developing a coaching curriculum that we're implementing throughout the year, and they line up with the PTA standards that the district is working on as well. So what we're doing is hoping that from our side, we can work directly with parents to help them have strategies and information that supports what the district is doing too.
Thanks. And Kelly, I love what you're doing over at September High School. This is an independent school for kids that have, for whatever reason, found it to be a better learning environment in the smaller school situation. Can you share what you're doing with parents?
Well, when students come to our school, generally the parents have already been really involved in that their students were not thriving for a variety of reasons. Either they were kids whose learning differences were not having their needs met academically. We have students who've experienced social stress just in a bigger environment that the public schools might have, especially in high school, as it gets to be a great big environment with a more complex social structure. We've had students that didn't thrive there. And I've found that many of the parents with whom I work have already become really skilled advocates and really good listeners to their own children. And it's awesome to have them in my office and lead off with, "Tell me about your child." And as a parent myself, I always found the parent-teacher conferences in October and November to be very weird. It was like, why is this person, often some lovely 23-year-old elementary school teacher, telling me about my child with whom I live all the time and raised? And I just think that from the get-go, the public school and private schools can do a better job with leading off with that question, "Tell me about your child," and have parents let you know who they perceive their kid to be, and then see how you can meet the needs of that kid in your environment.
Thanks. Let me follow that one up because I feel like there's very limited time that parents have access to teachers of necessity. And I'm wondering what suggestions you may have for parents about how to build relationships with teachers when they may only have a few meetings during the whole year. What do you think, Madeline? You want to lead us off?
Sure. I think it's really, and we've been stressing this with our teachers as well, building that relationship early on and taking advantage of back to school night is critical for that positive relationship moving forward. We've been trying to do exactly what Kelly mentioned in terms of let's figure out ways that we can get input from our parents about what they perceive as their kids' strengths and what works with motivating them. And so we're looking with our teachers, how can they, even if it's very limited time, how can they send a survey at the beginning of the year asking parents, "Tell me about your child," asking parents, "How do you want to be communicated with?" So those are some of the strategies that we're helping teachers with.
Thanks. Shelley, you got something?
Yeah, I would add that I think that parents, it helps to tell parents they have permission to reach out to their teachers and to really communicate that they want to have an ongoing relationship. I think when I think of like what does every relationship entail, it usually is time in, mutual respect, getting an understanding of each other and establishing together what is in the best interest of my child. And so I think it's both teachers being available to set up other times and also parents taking the initiative to do that. And I think that part of that mutual respect is also showing an interest in the teacher and really having compassion for the fact that they have a lot of students that they see. And recognizing that a parent-teacher conference might not be the best time to cover everything, that they can share what's most important. These are the things that are happening in our family that might be affecting my child's learning, catching up on what's happening with the child during school, but then saying, there's some other things I'd like to talk about. When can we establish another time to talk? But I think sometimes just letting parents know, you have a right to do that, and it's in your control to advocate for your child.
Nice, thanks. What about the parent who feels like, I don't really need to go to these meetings, or there's too many emails coming from the school. I'm just going to send my kid there and the parents will figure it out. And they might not even know their teacher's name or all their teachers' names when they're in middle school or high school. Kelly, what do you think? How do we convince these reluctant parents that a positive parent-teacher relationship is actually important?
I love that you asked me this question. As a parent of 6 and have been a professional educator for 20 years, a lot of the time in urban schools in which you put in 10, 12 hours at school, many times being at my own students' football games instead of my own children's because of the necessity to be present for my students outside of school hours. I am often the parent who, especially by high school, expects that if no news is good news. So I do appreciate the emails. I love being able to text a teacher if I need to. When my son, who is now a senior in college, was in high school, I don't think I ever entered the high school. Honestly, I trusted that all was well. He had a few interactions that were disciplinary, and I let him handle those, and he is now financially and academically independent. So I do also have other children who do require me to be more present, to help them advocate for themselves, to help them manage their own personality in a system, and to support the teacher. Sometimes I'm calling the teacher and saying, hang in there, I'm sure he'll mature. So I think encouraging parents who need to be present, maybe it's just partnering up with another parent. I also appreciate teachers who respect that I am so happy with the time my kids spend in school, and I've got it from 3 p.m. on. So I think that just being able to express yourself and understand everybody's schedule and the particular needs of the kids. You might have parents that aren't present very often, but that doesn't mean that they're not happy with what's going on and that their child isn't thriving.
This is making me think about how the parents' relationship to the schools might change from elementary to middle school to high school. Can anybody speak to what they think might be significant for parents going through that?
Sure.
Thanks, Madeline.
I think when at the elementary level, parents are often your co-educators, and at the secondary level, their role often changes to more of a coach, and their role is equally as important, but it does change as their child changes, and it's just really important that parents realize that even if they don't know the subject matter that their kid is learning, that there are ways that they can support at home through monitoring their child's progress, asking about learning, and things like that.
Cool. Shelley?
I would add to that too that developmentally it's very normal for a teenager and adolescent to want to push away. And it doesn't mean that a parent should say, oh, my child is a teenager and I don't need to be involved anymore. But to recognize that this is an opportunity for them to practice that when we give our students a chance to self-advocate and to practice being responsible for themselves, but then still know that you're a really important person and it matters that you stay involved in their life, that you encourage them and coach them, like Madeline said, along the way. So I think it's good to recognize the normal developmental shifts that happen in addition to the institutional changes that happen in the school.
Nice. Kelly?
Having students in my own students who've gone on to post-secondary and my own children, I see kind of a shift over the last couple decades of parents being really excessively anxious about failure in any form, whether it's a failure to manage their time regarding a project, whether it's failure with a sports team, whether it's failure in an interpersonal conflict that kids might have with peers or teachers. And I really try to communicate to other parents who want the best for their kids to let their kids fail when it's cheap. And public school or private school with lots of professional educators who are there for your child's benefit, surrounded by a family they come home to, is a cheap place to fail. And what is the information that we learn from that failure? And I think that that's a really important transition, giving kids more room to fail and then providing them support as they process and reflect on what it might indicate about them and what they might choose to do differently next time, so that when they do go off to college or work, that they're able to manage their own time, their own money, their own relationships with a less support from home.
Thanks. Okay, what do you guys suggest if there's a conflict between the student, or your child in this case, in this scenario, and the teacher, where things aren't going so well in the class, the students may be underperforming, and when the child comes home, he or she says, oh, this is the teacher's fault, they're just mean, they don't teach well, and sort of takes no responsibility. As a parent, how do you navigate that kind of triangle between your kid and their teacher? Shelley, what do you think?
Well, I think it starts with being in communication with the teacher about what's going on and asking your child what's going on. And if they're not sharing that much, maybe you have to get information from other sources. But then I also believe that it's really beneficial to gather and have a joint meeting where everybody is there in support of the child. And I think it's really important that that's where the focus is, that it's not on talking about just negative behavior per se, but actually setting up a success plan for that child and giving them small steps that they can achieve. Because I think sometimes when kids have really serious issues, we can want to solve it all in one day, and that's not possible. But to give them stepping stones and let the scaffolding unfold, that they get improvement in areas and they get some reinforcement along the way. I know personally with my own children, and they were very different, and they both had that kind of intervention at some point. In one case, it was like a round table, and we asked our child, so how do you think we should solve this problem? What do you think we need to do differently? Because many times they have something to say, and they, again, need to have like just an opportunity, permission to actually say that. And he said things that were very different than what people expected. Like, when you sit me in the front of the room, I try to get more attention. So I get that you sit me there because you want to keep your eye on me, but it would be better if I could stand in the back of the room. So little things like that. And with our other child, we did a success plan, and it wasn't just with at school. It was, what other resources do we need to have in our community and in your life that are going to help you in this area? And she agreed to it and signed it, and it was something that we worked on together in a positive way.
That's great. That's great. What about the scenario where your kid is so convincing that an injustice has been done, and I've heard people say, oh, as a parent, you're not supposed to take your kid's side and sort of like join against the teacher. Is that true? Do you guys agree with that? Is the parent supposed to be neutral? Kelly, what do you think?
I stink at being neutral. Even as a professional teacher, I stink at being neutral. I think it's important that your children see you handle an emotionally charged situation respectfully. And as a teacher and a parent, I understand when it's a parent across the table and they're talking about their child. It's the most important thing in your life. And I have had instances where my child has felt they weren't listened to, my 5th grader last year, and sent her in as an advocate. We even role-played it. You say this part, I'll be the teacher. What happens if they don't listen? Practicing advocacy skills. And I went in and pretty strongly defended my child. And it went a long way to my child feeling empowered in a situation that wasn't right. I spoke to one of the administrators, got a positive response in her office, didn't actually see any change, and finished out the school year and moved my children to another school, quite frankly. But I think it empowered my child to see a situation in which I was emotional and also fact-seeking, listened to the teacher, listened to the administrator, and worked some problem-solving skills. And it is difficult because we want it to be perfect right now. And often the journey of our children, there are a lot of times at which we do need to assess and adjust, and it's awesome to be in Colorado with school choice, to be able to move kids where they need to be, and to be in a process.
Thanks. Okay, right now, if parents are at this point in the school year, we're right at the midpoint of October, and they want to improve their relationship with their kids' teachers, what are specific things they could do right now at this time of the year? Madeline, you want to start us off?
Sure. Again, going back to reaching out to that teacher, making sure that they are able to put a face to a name, building those communication channels. And I think also what you can do at home is really monitor your kids' progress and be in communication with the teacher early on about what can be most beneficial for your child.
And is email allowed? Because I always feel like I'm sort of bothering the teacher on their off time or something if I'm emailing, but my wife emails the teachers, and she's a teacher, and she just feels like it's great, and they email her back, so I guess,
Yeah.
is it?
Email is always allowed, but it's important to remember that the teachers, they're teaching all day long, and so it might in a business sort of culture, you might expect to get an answer within a half an hour. But having that empathy for the teacher, knowing that they are putting all of their energy in trying to help kids learn, and having that empathy to know that it might take them a day or two to get back to your response, with a response.
Thanks. Kelly?
I spend a lot of time in the car with my kids, driving to work, driving to ballet and soccer and all the fabulous things that happen outside of school, mostly in my car. And one night recently, I put the cell phone video on and I said, "Tell me about your day." And I had 3 children, a 6th grader, a 4th grader, and a 3rd grader in my van. And I said, "You have 60 seconds to tell me a good thing, a bad thing, and something you want to do better." And they gave their answers, and I uploaded the video to their teachers, and I said, "Here's the daily download. Let me know what you think." So about a week later, I got emails back from the teachers. It was really interesting for them to see the interaction, the normal interaction. Yeah, I think there were some body functions too in the van, which generally happens. It was, pretty accurate elementary discussion, but it's interesting that my one child mentioned only football on the playground and nothing of their fabulous academics. My daughter mentioned an interpersonal, gossipy 6th grade thing, and my other daughter waxed poetic about the book she was reading. So I think it was instructive for the teachers to see kids in their natural environment. So,
Thanks. Okay, let's say that this struggle has been going on. There was maybe an initial meeting, and now it feels like it's getting worse. Your child's in middle school. It's their first year in middle school. They're falling through the cracks. What are the options as a parent? Can a parent just say, I'm calling a meeting with the principal. We need to resolve this? Or what's the steps if it feels like at the teacher level we're not making headway? Shelley?
I like to call it circle the wagons, that's a good opportunity to reach out to all the people in that child's life who can have an impact. I think that teachers have a lot of pressure to be the person who's with the child when the child's not with the parent, especially early on, but our children have many teachers in their lives, and it's good to say, okay, who can have an impact or an influence on this situation? Who might we want to talk to? And literally reach out to all those different individuals. And take responsibility for the issue as a whole rather than just something at school. If it's something that's just specific to school, I think you can do the same thing at school. Circle the wagons with the people at school, the counselors, the principal, and set up those meetings and work on what is it that we can do now because this isn't working. And like Kelly said, it's all about having a respectful conversation. I know we've tried this, it's not working so far. I'd like to have more conversation about how that can work. And sometimes it does end and you choose something different for your child that is going to be more effective at meeting their needs, I think.
Okay, thanks. Madeline?
Yeah, and at the elementary level, I think it's important that parents feel comfortable that they can reach out to their child's teacher, and that's always the first place to start, or at the secondary level with their child's counselor. Make sure that there's clear communication there, and what Shelley said is so important, making, the understanding that we're all here for the same thing, that we're trying to work as a team to figure out how to support your child's success, it's important that is expressed in those sorts of meetings where you are trying to problem solve, just to keep them positive. And of course, if the issue persists, then then parents obviously have the right to contact the school administrator and talk to them about it as well.
Okay, thank you. What supports and resources are in place for parents who don't speak English? Maybe this is right back to you, Madeline. Is this right back to you?
Sure. Well, we're doing a couple different things. Well, at the school level, we do often have not at all of our schools, but at some of our schools, we do have community liaisons who are bilingual. But we are really trying to make our system easier to navigate for parents who are not native English speakers or who didn't go through the U.S. educational system. So we are starting a BVSD family helpline. So right now that can be answered in English or Spanish. And that's a way that parents can call one specific place and know that if they have a question about transportation in their child's bus route, that they can speak with someone who's going to answer in English or in Spanish and get connected to the right person. We're also doing a lot in partnership with community organizations to support our linguistically diverse families in the Lafayette community. We have a Spanish-speaking parent leadership institute going called Parity, and in Boulder, the Boulder community, we work closely with Family Resource Schools, who provides a lot of support to our linguistically diverse families. So community organizations, partnering with community organizations as well, is one of our key strategies for supporting those parents.
Thanks. Okay, awesome panelists. We're on our last question, and this is the question where we get to sort of collect any missing pieces that we forgot to talk about. So, in your experience helping parents with their teachers in that relationship, what are the most confusing or things that parents struggle with the most in that process, and what suggestions do you have when those things come up? Who wants to start off? Kelly.
Besides the math, which is always a struggle, it seems that they invented thousands of new maths since 1985. That's always number one. Math is difficult. I know for me, and this has been extremely helpful to me as a parent and an educator, is that I have a really clear vision of who my children are, of the place that school fits in their whole life, and I empower them to turn off the school pressure at the end of the day. I find what's most confusing is that I have often really awesome kids that want to do well. And do well means checking a lot of boxes when you're 8 and 9. And nobody's good at everything, and they want to be. And they come home, and there's signatures and permission slips and fundraisers. And I have a school bin at my house, and I am sorry to say that it's the recycling bin. And I say, we're not in school right now. And I'm not going to read to you for 20 minutes, and I'm not going to do the thing the teacher told me to do. I don't work for her. I'm your parent. This is your home. We're going to play. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to go to church or Boy Scouts or do nothing. Or we might watch The Simpsons or something completely non-educational. But to have a vision for your child and for your family and for your home that empowers your child to see school as a piece of who they are and a piece of their development, and allow them to choose how much weight they give to each piece of paper that comes home. And the other day, I had a success that is maybe only a success if you're a rowdy hippie parent like I am, where my child wrote on the little piece of paper that says what you read and how long and parent signature, she wrote, "My mother is busy. She is not signing my reading paper. I think you should trust me that I'm reading. Have a good day." And I was like, awesome. My child at 8 is managing her school paperwork. So for me, I think the most confusing thing is wanting our children to do well and being empowered as parents to create the version of that at home so that school is not overpowering. And even if it does go south for a semester or a god-awful middle school, that their life is still sailing along with their family in a way that's healthy and communicative.
That's great. Thanks. Shelley, what do you think?
Yeah. So I would add that one of the things we see parents get confused about is just normal development, that children change as they grow, and sometimes those changes can occur like things that are things you don't want them to do. Like, for example, it's actually normal for an adolescent to lie sometimes, So those are the sort of, or gossip or be moody, those kind of things. So one of the things I think that is confusing is, when do I intervene and when do I not? When do I talk to the teacher about it? When do I just deal with it at home? And part of what we do at Penn actually is to talk to parents about what is normal and what is not normal development. And the other thing I would say can be difficult is just learning how to navigate the system. And that's different for some parents than it is for others. But, you know, we have Infinite Campus to check grades, and we have all these places to monitor and navigate the system. And I think that not all parents know where to go for what. And so just having a resource and being able to reach out and find out who do I talk to for this kind of information can be helpful.
Thanks. Madeline.
Yeah, I absolutely echo what Shelley said in terms of navigating the system. When I'm talking to parents, often they know that they need to contact somebody, but they don't know whether it's allowed or who the right person to contact is. I also think that for some of our families who are newcomers to the U.S., their school systems in their home countries might have had different expectations of the parent role in education, and that here in the U.S., there's a lot more expectation on parents to advocate for your kids, to be involved, to be engaged. And I think it's important for us as a school district to recognize that and help parents understand our system, but also recognize where they're coming from as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, parents, we hope this is really helpful for you in your process of navigating your child's education and in the process of finding a partnership between yourself and your child's teachers. I want to thank the panelists so much for coming and bringing your expertise to this discussion today. And again, thank the Boulder Valley School District and Boulder Psychological Services, as well as all of our other affiliate sponsors for making this possible. We wish you the best, and please don't go at this alone. If you need support, the folks at your school are wanting to make that happen for you. So I like the Circle the Wagons idea. It's sort of a village approach. All right, good luck.